Hello and very welcome everyone to the session of the Modern History Part 6. In today's session, we are going to discuss the things that we have ended in the last session. We will discuss that further. We were seeing about that how the civil disobedience movement happened and how Gandhiji arrived and started different type of movements in our country. And now we will see it further. So without wasting any time, let's start our session. Before we start, the images used in the slide deck are for educational purpose only. We respect the intellectual property rights of the original creators and owners of these images. If you are the owner of any of the images used in this deck and have any concerns or issues, please contact us at sathi@iitk.ac.in and we shall remove the images. So let's discuss about the nationalist response in the wake of World War II. So in Haripura session in 1938 of Congress was held under the presidency Subhash Chandra Bose. He was instrumental in setting up National Planning Commission for the economic development of the country through planning. So basically, in the Haripura session in 1938, the elections of the president of Congress was done, and Subhash Chandra Bose turned out to be elected. And as soon as he was elected, he started creating the process of National Planning Commission so that the economic development of the country can be discussed. Then comes the Tripuri crisis. Subhash announced his candidature for the 1939 elections for the president of Congress. Dr. Pitabi Sitaramaya was the candidate supported by Gandhiji. So basically, one more thing happened in 1938 was that as we know that the whole world the whole world was expecting that the world war can begin at any time at that time. So during that time, Subhash Chandra Bose also asked the people of this country and Congress that now is the time that we should do something and we can snatch the freedom from the hands of Britishers. Gandhiji, we all know, was not in favor of that at that time, as he was saying that we should not go with them with this process, and we should support the Britishers in this World War. On the other side, if we talk about Jawaharlal Nehru was saying that we should not do anything against the British, and we should not even support the Britishers. What we can do is, if they accept our demand, then we can help the Britishers in the Second World War. So this was the three type of ideologies going at that time. Finally, in 1939, during the Tripuri session of Congress, Subhash Chandra Bose was again elected, but this time he was contesting the election against Pitabi Sitaramaya. Pitabi Sitaramaya was the candidate who was supported by Mr. Gandhi, because Pitabi Sitaramaya was in favor of the ideology of Gandhiji. The result was declared on 29 January 1939 and Subhash winning by a narrow but clear margin. So Mr. Subhash Chandra Bose won this election, and as soon as he won the election, Gandhiji gave a statement that it is not the defeat of Pitabi, it is the defeat of mine. So we can understand that this was an emotional statement given by him, and Subhash Chandra Bose has to meet Mr. Gandhi after he gave this statement. So as soon as he met Mr. Gandhi, he clearly saw that he cannot do what he want to do with the help of Congress. So he backed out from the position of president. So he resigned. So Bose, in his presidential speech of Tripuri session, spoke of giving 6 months ultimatum to British to grant the independence. If the ultimatum was rejected, he wanted to start a civil disobedience movement. So, as I was saying, this was the ideology of Subhash Chandra Bose at that time. So, here we can see that this is the reason that Gandhiji and Subhash Chandra Bose departed their ways after this Tripuri session. Some more thing related to it. So Gandhi, on the other hand, was firm on the belief that it was not the right time for such ultimatums, as neither the Congress nor the masses were yet ready for struggle. Bose wanted an immediate struggle led by Gandhi, whereas Gandhi was firm in his belief that the time was not ripe for struggle. So basically, if we talk about the ultimatum that was given by Subhash Chandra Bose, and I already told you that Gandhiji was not in favor of it, and he was constantly saying that masses are not ready for this, masses are not ready for it, and that is why Gandhiji said these things, that it is not the defeat of Pitabi, it is the defeat of mine. Bose resigned from president post in April 1939, and in May 1939, after resigning from INC, Bose and his followers formed the Forward Bloc as a new party within the Congress. So this was the party that was formed by Mr. Subhash Chandra Bose. So do remember all these things. And after the resignation of Mr. Subhash Chandra Bose, do remember Dr. Rajendra Prasad became the president of Indian National Congress. Second World War and resignation of Congress ministries. So the Second World War broke out in September 1939 when Germany invaded Poland. So 1st of September 1939 was the day when Germany finally, after giving so many warnings and so many particularly attack warnings on Poland, now they have finally attacked on 1st of September 1939. The government of India declared India to be at war with Germany without consulting the Congress or the elected members of the central legislature. So Britishers particularly declared that India is with them and they have declared the war. But they have not asked anyone from India. The Congress Working Committee, which met at Wardha on September 14, declared that it could not associate themselves in war unless British government publicly stated that India would be granted political independence after the war. But there were no positive response from the government. The Congress ministries resigned after being in the office for 28 months. So I hope you remember that in 1937 provincial elections happened, and in that those provincial elections in 5 provinces, Congress created the majority government. Now, as soon as this whole process was started of World War, and Britishers declaring that India is with them without consulting us. So all the ministries of Congress resigned, and basically for after working in office for 28 months. The Muslim League celebrated the Deliverance Day on 22nd December 1939 on the day of the resignation of the Congress ministries in the provinces. So this all happened during the time when the Second World War was going and Congress ministries resigned from all the particular provinces in our country. Congress Socialist Party, 1934. In May 1934, Acharya Narendra Dev, Jayaprakash Narayan, and Achyut Patwardhan, who were members of Congress Working Committee, established the Congress Socialist Party. So these were the members of Congress, and they started another party, that is Congress Socialist Party at that time. So Jayaprakash Narayan, I hope you know him. Basically, he is famous for Bihar movement as well. Later in 1975. August 8, 1940 offer. Very important, guys. After the resignation of Congress ministries, the annual session of Congress was held at Ramgarh, Bihar in March 1940. The Congress offered to cooperate the British government if a provisional rational government was set up at the center. Do remember that in this session of 1940, Abul Kalam Azad became the president of Congress, and he remained till 1945 the president of Congress. So during the whole time of World War II, who was the president of Indian National Congress? That was Abul Kalam Azad. And particularly, Congress also during this session offered to cooperate with the British government if the if the provisional national government was set up at the center. That means that the government of Britain that is working in India should hand over all the things into the hand of Congress, in the hand of Indians, basically. In response, on 8th August 1940, the Viceroy Linlithgow, at that time the Viceroy was Linlithgow, a set of proposals to the Congress for securing its cooperation during the war, which are popularly known as August Offer. The August Offer turned down the Congress demand for setting up the provisional national government, but it offered the following. So basically, they turned down the demand of formation of a provisional government of India, the center, but they have given some other offers. Let's take a look. An immediate expansion of the Viceroy's Executive Council by inducting into that body a number of representative Indians. So basically, what they are saying is that we will expand the Viceroy's Executive Council and we will include more Indians into it so that you can have a kind of a dominion status. But according to Indians, we are not demanding dominion status, but we are asking that you should give us a provisional national government as soon as possible and we will help you. So this was a kind of a dispute. Establishment of War Advisory Council comprising representatives of British India. So a War Advisory Council will be there, and there will be the representatives from British India as well. That means the Indians will also be allowed in that War Advisory Council. That was another offer. A representative constitution making body would be set up after the war. This was the offer given at that time, that as soon as the war will end, we will set up a particular representative constitution making body that will help making a permanent constitution for the country. The Congress rejected the August offer. Jawaharlal Nehru said that the whole idea of dominion status on which the offer was based was as dead as a door nail. So we can understand this very well, that in 1919, in 1918, when the First World War was ended, and we helped them in the First World War, we during the First World War, they only promised us to give dominion status, and at that time they did not give that. They did not give it. So now they are saying that they will provide the dominant status to us. So that is why Nehru said that it is, particularly the offer was as dead as a doornail. Remember this quote. This can be asked directly in the exams. So this all happened on August 8, 1940. Then comes the very important individual satyagraha. So let's read about it, guys, also. So 17th October 1940, individual satyagraha. So after the August offer came, Gandhiji again started another movement. Let's read about it. So Gandhiji gave the call for a limited satyagraha in October 1940 by a few selected individuals after the Congress ministries had resigned. So the purpose behind it is to create some individual satyagrahis in our country. They will go into the country and meet people, create particularly assemblies, and they will tell the people that why we should not help the Britishers in the Second World War. So this was the main objective behind this movement. Individual Satyagraha was started on 17th October 1940 from Pioneer Ashram in Maharashtra. Vinoba Bhave was the first individual Satyagrahi on October 17, 1940, and Jawaharlal Nehru was the second one. Remember this point very well. Okay, the first individual Satyagrahi was Vinoba Bhave, and the second one was Jawaharlal Nehru. And do remember, and the third one was Brahmdatt, and this was added. This is an added information. And the individual Satyagraha process was started from Pioneer Ashram in Maharashtra. So this was the time, and this was the objective of individual Satyagrahi. Now another very important point: demand for Pakistan, guys. So the ideological and political background of separate independent Muslim state had been prepared by the Aligarh movement. The foundation of the Muslim League and Morley Minto reforms, it introduced separate electorate for the Muslims. However, it was Muhammad Iqbal who first articulated the demand for a separate Muslim state in the Indian continent. He presided over the Allahabad session of the Muslim League in 1930. Also, during the Roundtable Conference, Rahmat Ali, a Muslim student in England, conveyed the Muslim delegates the scheme of a separate Muslim nation consisting of Punjab, Western Frontier or Afghan North Province, Kashmir, Sindh, and Balochistan. So, let me tell you in brief now. So, basically, the process of this becoming a Pakistan, a separate independent state for Muslims, this was all started, first of all, during the Aligarh movement. Aligarh movement was basically the time when Sir Syed Ahmad Khan was there, and who was basically known as the person who stated the two nation theory firstly. After that, during the 1909, the act was introduced in our country, and that was famously known as the Morley Minto reforms. During this Morley Minto reforms, Minto II was the viceroy of our country, and Morley was the secretary of state, and they introduced the separate electorate for Muslims. So this was another point. And now after that, some other people also added some points like Muhammad Iqbal. Muhammad Iqbal is famous for writing the song Sare Jahan Se Acha Hindustan Hamara. Remember that. And he presided over the Allahabad session of the Muslim League in 1930. And he also demanded to create a separate Muslim state in Indian continent. Now, during the roundtable conferences also, Rahmat Ali, a student in England who was a Muslim student, stated that how and which particular areas can be created as a Pakistan. So all these ideologies and all these things of Pakistans were not only introduced in 1940, but the demand was going back in 1900 and since the starting of 1906, because in 1906 the Muslim League was created in Dhaka. At that time it was known as Dhaka, now it is known as Dhaka. The proposed separate Muslims that was to be named Pakistan. The name was derived by taking the first letter of the first four provinces and the end of the last name province. Rahmat Ali founded the Pakistan National Movement in 1933 to propagate the idea. He wrote a book, Now or Never. So Chaudhry Rahmat Ali was the full name of this person, and he was, as we know, a Muslim student of England. And he proposed this thing that what name should be given. The name is given Pakistan. So remember that Pakistan word was coined by Chaudhry Rahmat Ali, and he derived it from the first letter of the first four provinces. And apart from that, if we talk about, he also founded the Pakistan National Movement in 1933 with an idea, and he also wrote a book, Now or Never. Muslim League in March 1940 in its Lahore session declared that the Muslim in India must have a separate independent state. It was presided by Muhammad Ali Jinnah. A Muslim League adopted a resolution on 24th March 1940 in which famous Pakistan resolution was passed, which totally rejected the scheme of federation given by the Government of India Act 1930. So we can also see it at the time of 1928 when Nehru report was brought. Jinnah on the other side was stating the 14 points we all know. And now we can see that in 1940, particularly during the Lahore session of Muslim League, they adopted the resolution of Pakistan resolution, and finally they have rejected the scheme of the federation in the country. So all these things happened in our country at that time, and Pakistan demand was being created. Now, another one is the Cripps mission, guys. Very important. Now we can understand that August offer came, then individual satyagraha was started, then the demand for Pakistan was also going, and now it has been 2 years since 3 years since the starting of the Second World War, and now Britishers are in so much demand of getting the help from Indians that they also send another particular mission like the August offer that is famously known as Cripps mission. Let's read about it. So to secure the Indian cooperation, the British government sent to India on 11th March 1942 a mission headed by a cabinet minister, Stafford Cripps, a left-wing Liberite. Main clauses: Dominion status to India and permission to opt out of Commonwealth and free to join any international bodies, including UN. After the war, a constituent assembly would be formed to design a new constitution. Members of this parliament would be chosen in part by provincial legislatures using proportional representation and in part by the princes. So let me tell you in brief a little bit about it. So basically, there was a person called Stafford Cripps, as we can know that he was a left-wing Liberite. That means he was from Labour Party. And he came up with a mission called Cripps Mission. And he particularly put forward some things like the dominant status of India and permission to opt out from Commonwealth and free to join the international bodies, including UN. At that time, the four policemen were also working to create an international organization called UN and replacing the League of Nations. After the war, a constituent assembly would be formed to design a new constitution. Members of this parliament would be chosen in part by provincial legislatures using proportional representation and in part by the princes. So basically, some things are also available for the princely states and other things, and provincial legislature should be given the proportional representation. So basically, that means that they are giving another offer that what we can do for you to create a particular dominion status. The British government would accept the new constitution subject to two conditions. Any province that does not choose to join the union may have its own constitution and create its own union. The new constitution making body and the British government would draft a treaty to complete the transfer of power and to protect ethnic and religious minorities. So basically, Britishers are also saying one more thing, that if any province does not want to join the union, they can have their own constitution. That means they can write their own constitution. And particularly as soon as the constitution making body is being created, the transfer of power will be done with the help of this constitution making body, that is basically known as Constituent Assembly. But we have to take in care about the protect ethnic and religious minorities, but we should keep in mind that religious minorities should not be hampered. In the meantime, defense of India would remain in British hands and the Governor General powers would remain intact. So basically, they are keeping the armed forces in their control only. So this was all being told under the Cripps mission. And remember, the chairman of this mission was Stafford Cripps. And as soon as Cripps mission came, Gandhiji again started creating a particular criticizing the Cripps mission and started the Quit India movement. So the failure of the Cripps mission to solve the constitutional deadlock exposed Britain's unchanged attitude on constitutional advance. So basically, with the plan of Cripps mission, they thought that they can create the help of Indians to the British in the Second World War, but that is not appropriate, and they failed in that. The Congress Working Committee meeting held at Wardha on 14 July 1942 and proposed massive civil disobedience if the British did not accede to the demands. On 8th August 1942, All India Congress meeting held at Gwalior Tank, Bombay, and a Quit India resolution were passed, and Gandhiji gave the slogan "Do or Die." So basically, there are two things. One is "Do or Die." This slogan was given by Mahatma Gandhi. On the other side, Quit India. Quit India was given by Yusuf Mehrali. Remember that. Quit India term was coined by Yusuf Mehrali. So as soon as the demands were not accepted by the Britishers, Quit India movement was started. The meeting resolved to demand an immediate end to British rule in India. So this was the only demand at that time. Britishers coming up with the things like they will provide dominion status, they will provide constitutional making body, they will provide help to control the armed forces. But what our demand was just one: total independence. Quit India right now. So that demand is an immediate demand to end the British rule in India. Declare commitment of free India to defend itself against all type of fascism and imperialism. That is another point. Form a provisional government of India after British withdrawal. This was the demand during the August offer as well, and now also. Sanction a civil disobedience movement against British rule, and this was another demand another point that was discussed during this meeting. So all these things were happening at that time when the Cripps mission came, and now the civil disobedience, the Quit India movement was being discussed at the Gwalior Tank Maidan on 8th of August. Gandhi's general instructions. So for government servants, do not resign, but declare your allegiance to the Congress. So Gandhiji this time said that you should not resign from your post, but do provide your allegiance. Do tell the government that we are with the demand of Congress. For soldiers, do not leave the army, but do not fire on compatriots. That means whatever the people of our country are revolting, doing a national movement, it is a plea to you that do not fire any round on them. For students, if confident, leave studies. So for students, there was an instruction that if you are confident that after all these things will be ended, you will get the job, you will get the things, you will be able to establish yourself, then leave studies. For peasants, if zamindars are anti-government, pay mutually agreed rent, and if not, do not pay rent. So basically, they are asking the peasants that if your zamindar is anti-government, that means he is against the Britishers, then you can pay the mutually agreed rent. But if not, if he is not anti-government, he is with Britishers, do not pay the rent. For princes, support the masses and accept sovereignty of your people. So this was another demand, that was another thing, another instruction for princely states, that this is the time that you should support the masses of this country. You should support your own people and accept the sovereignty of your people. That this is the time that you should provide a sovereignty, a freedom, a complete freedom. For princely states people, support the ruler only if he is anti-government, same thing as in case of Zamidar, and declare yourselves to be a part of the Indian nation. So these are the particular instructions given by Mr. Gandhi to the people of this country. And you can clearly see that he was asking for the whole country to come together. And this is the last time that we can do something. And that is also why he gave the slogan, do or die. Parallel governments, very important. Balia. The first parallel government was proclaimed in Balia in East UP in August 1942 under the leadership of Chittu Pandey. So when the Quit India movement was started, Gandhiji also said two very important things, that this is the time when I am saying that I am not supporting any kind of thing, that I'm not saying asking you to be non-violent or something. Just lead this movement. That is why Gandhiji also called this a leaderless movement, because Gandhiji was arrested the very next day and there were no particular leader of this movement. So Gandhiji asked the people to become your own leader and take the freedom in your hand. So Balia became the first place in that category that they got freedom from the British rule, and in 1942 under the leadership of Chittu Pandey. Jatiya Sarkar. In Tamluk, in the Midnapur district of Bengal, the Jatiya Sarkar came into existence on on December 17, 1942 and lasted till September 1944. Satara, a parallel government or Prati Sarkar was set up in Satara, Maharashtra. Nana Patil, YB Chavan, Achyut Patwardhan were its important leaders. Nyayadan Mandals or People's Court were set up and justice dispensed. So Satara was another place that got parallel government. Gandhiji fast and release from jail. So Gandhiji decided to observe 21-day fast against the violence of the state. He commenced a fast on 10th February 1943 in jail. Basically, after the Quit India movement was started, Gandhiji was imprisoned in Aga Khan Palace. And this was the place where Kasturba Gandhi, the wife of Mahatma Gandhi, died. And also his secretary also died at the same place. There was a countrywide agitation for his release, but the viceroy refused to set him free. Three members of the viceroy's executive council, H.P. Modi, N.R. Sarkar, and MSNA, resigned from their offices in protest. Lord Wavell, who had taken over as the Viceroy of India in October 1943, released Gandhiji on 6th May 1944. So Gandhiji was at Aga Khan Palace, and as I was saying, Kasturba Gandhi died there, and also his secretary. And after all these things, basically, in 1944, Gandhiji was finally released from the jail. During all this time, the Prime Minister of Britain was Winston Churchill. Indian National Army. This was another segment of the independence movement. Let's read about it. So Ras Bihari Bose, I hope you remember when I was telling you about the bomb conspiracy in Delhi in 1912, and the bomb was particularly deployed on Lord Hardinge, the Viceroy of India at that time. Ras Bihari Bose was particularly the person who found to be culprit in that case. So Ras Bihari Bose organized the Indian the Independence League with support of Indians living in Southeast Asia. So he was in Singapore, and with the help of the Indians in that place, he started the Independence League. In March 1942, he convened a conference in Tokyo at which it was decided to form the Indian National Army. The INA was initially organized by Captain Mohan Singh. Remember this point very well. The first Indian National Army was created by Captain Mohan Singh and not Subhash Chandra Bose. But there were some disputes happened between Captain Mohan Singh and Japanese army. That is why the first Indian National Army was disbanded. An Indian officer of the British Army in Malaya who had surrendered to the Japanese. it passed a resolution to form Azad Hind Fauj or Free India Legion, Indian National Army. On September 1st, 1942, the first division of INA was formed with 16,300 men. The second phase of INA began when Subhash Chandra Bose was brought to Singapore on July 2nd, 1943, by the means of German and Japanese submarines. He went to Tokyo, and Prime Minister Tojo declared that Japan had no territorial designs on India. So basically, the first thing Subhash Chandra Bose done was that he met the Prime Minister of Japan at that time, that is Prime Minister Tojo. And Prime Minister Tojo also declared that they have no idea, they have no particular ideology to create any territorial designs in India, and they are fully supporting India in getting freedom. So Ras Bihari Bose, remember that? Remember, there are two people, Ras Bihari Bose and Ras Bihari Ghosh. Ras Bihari Ghosh was a moderate person. He was the member of moderate faction of Indian National Congress. Some other things related to the INA. Subhash Chandra Bose returned to Singapore and set up the provisional government for Free India on 21st October 1943. Remember, Subhash Chandra Bose became the prime minister of this provisional government. He set up two INA headquarters in Rangoon, Burma, and in Singapore, and gave his famous call, Dilli Chalo. That is very famous and very important dialogue that he gave at that time. Subhash Bose, in his broadcast on Azad Hind Radio, addressed to Gandhiji as father of our nation on July 6, 1944. This was another remarkable thing. And when he declared the war, he also called Mr. Gandhi as the father of our nation. The INA prisoners were tried in the famous Red Fort trials in Delhi. Shah Nawaz Khan, Gurbaksh Singh Dhillon, and P.K. Sehgal, etc., were put on trial. The defense of INA prisoners were taken up by the Congress. Bhai Desai, Tej Bahadur Sapru, K.N. Kajju, Jawaharlal Nehru, and Asaf Ali appeared in court at the historic Red Fort trial. So basically, when the INA, that is Indian National Army, entered into Indian territory, they started fighting against the British Army. They also freed the Andaman and Nicobar Islands. Then they entered India through Tripura. Now, as soon as they entered into India, this was the time when on 6th of August 1945 and 9th of August 1945, the bombs were dropped on Japan. So now the help that Indian National Army was getting from Japan was not able to reach to the Indian National Army. And that is why the Indian National Army was basically defeated, or you can say they were now not able to fight against the British, and they were particularly imprisoned by the Britishers at that time. And in that thing, the famous officers like Shah Nawaz Khan, Gurbaksh Singh Dhillon, and P.K. Sehgal were arrested. And to protect them, few barristers from our country like Bhai Desai, Tej Bahadur Sapru, K.N. Kajju, Jawaharlal Nehru, and Asaf Ali all appeared in the court as their advocates. So this was all done by the Indian National Army. Let's read more about them. Rajgopalachari Formula, 1944. Muslim League observed the Pakistan Day on 23rd March 1943 and declared that Pakistan was the final goal of the Muslims in India. In March 1944, C. Rajgopalachari evolved a formula which stated that League should cooperate with the Congress and its demand of complete independence, and at the end of the war, a plebiscite would be held in the Muslim majority provinces to decide whether or not they should form a separate state. The formula was, however, rejected by the Muslim League. So basically, on one side, the Indian National Congress and Indian National Army, all they were particularly struggling. And on one side, the Muslim League was basically saying just one thing, that their final goal is to create Pakistan, and it is the final goal of all Muslims in India. And on the other side, C. Rajgopalachari evolved a formula, and in that formula, he stated that the League should cooperate with the Congress. So basically, he was saying that first thing that you should do, that you should cooperate with the Congress, and in the part of complete independence at the end of the war. And then we will do a plebiscite. That means we will do some kind of elections, we will do some kind of options or voting in which this Muslim majority provinces would be held. and they will decide that if they want a separate state or not. But Muslim League was not agreed upon it. Desai Liaquat Pact. Bulla Bhai Desai, leader of the Congress in the Central Legislative Assembly, and Liaquat Ali Khan, deputy leader of the League in the Assembly, proposed that an interim government should be formed at the center consisting of equal number of members nominated by the Congress and a League in the Central Legislature. Muslim League rejected this scheme again. So again, another pact was signed that was between Desai and Liaquat. That means Bulla Bhai Desai, the leader of the Congress in the Central Legislative Assembly, and Liaquat Ali Khan, who later became the first Prime Minister of Pakistan. Remember that. That an interim government should be formed at the center, which means a government after the all the war will be ended and independence will be gained. Interim government should be formed, and that will consist of equal number of members from Muslims and Congress. That means from the League and Congress. And Muslim League again rejected this scheme. So basically, the thing that we can find here is that Muslim League were not in the point of agreeing upon anything, and they were asking just one thing, that they want a separate state. Now comes the Wavell Plan and Shimla Conference. So Liaquat Ali Khan proposed that an interim government should be formed at the center consisting of equal number of members nominated by the Congress and a League of Central Legislature. Muslim League rejected this scheme again. Lord Wavell announced a plan known as Wavell Plan simultaneously in London and New Delhi on 14 June 1945. So as soon as we can see that Muslim League was not agreeing upon anything. So now Lord Wavell, at that time the Viceroy of India, he announced the Wavell Plan and simultaneously in London and New Delhi. So let's read about it. It was related to the formation of a provisional interim government at the center. So basically the demand of Congress after the August offer came was finally adopted, and Wavell is saying that the provisional interim government should be formed. It was proposed that the Viceroy's Executive Council would have equal representation of Muslim and Hindus. The new Executive Council at the center would have Indian members except the Viceroy and the Commander-in-Chief. All portfolios except defense would be held by the Indian members. So this was the Wavell Plan once again, and except the defense forces and some other things, all the important portfolios will be given to the Indians. And he was also saying that we have equal representation from Muslims and Hindus. But let's see that what happened after all. Lord Wavell convened a conference of 22 political leaders at Shimla to discuss the new proposals on 25th June 1945, but the conference broke down on the issue of reconstitution of the Viceroy's Executive Council, and Congress refused to accept the claims of the Muslim League to be the sole representative of the Muslim opinion. Abul Kalam Azad represented the Congress at the Shimla conference. So basically, again, the Lord Wavell was in favor of creating an equal representation for both of them. But again, we can see the Congress refused to accept the claims of the Muslim League to be the sole representative of the Muslim opinion. The Congress are asking the Muslim League that what you have particularly in your mind and how you are becoming the only opinion for the Muslims of this country. How you are saying that you are the only representatives of them. So these type of things and these type of disputes were rising at the Shimla conference. So all these things happened at that time. Now, the general elections of 1945-46. Before I start, let me tell you a little bit about it. So basically, when we can see that Muslim League was not agreeing upon anything, so what happened was that particularly the Britishers asked the Jinnah that you should contest the election, and we all know that you are saying that you are the representative of the Muslims of this country. Then you should do one thing: you should contest the election, you should win the elections, and then create your own government on your own. So now the general elections are going to be held, and with the help of these general elections, the Constituent Assembly will be formed. So in the Central Assembly, the Congress secured 91.3% votes in general constituencies. The Muslim League won every Muslim seat. The Muslim League could secure majority only in Bengal and Sindh. So Muslim League who were saying that they are the representatives of Muslims. They were only able to secure majority only in Bengal and Sindh. In the provincial legislature, the Congress won absolute majority in Bombay, Madras, Bihar, Odisha, Central Provinces, and United Provinces. In NWFP, the Congress won 30 seats, while the League got only 17 seats. In Punjab, a coalition government of the Congress, Akalis, and a Unionist was formed. So basically, in the provinces, the elections were going, and in the provinces, the Congress won absolute majority in some provinces like Bombay, Madras, Bihar, Odisha, Central Provinces, and United Provinces. And basically, in the northwestern frontier province also, Congress won 30 seats, while League got only 17. So all the particular things that the Muslim League was saying that they are the sole representatives of Muslims were perished in these elections. So after the general elections were held, let's see further what happened. Revolt of RIN ratings, 1946. The famous Royal Indian Navy revolt started on 18th February 1946 when 1100 ratings on HMIS Talwar protested against the ill treatment given to them, such racial discriminations, unpalatable food, etc. So basically, the uh, Indian forces that are working in the Royal Indian Navy, they were saying that they are discriminated and the food that is given is not appropriate. So on the basis of that, they revolted, and this was a famous revolt of Royal Indian Navy. The strike had spread to naval bases all over the country by 22nd February. So this was a famous incident, and Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel asked the forces to settle down and try to talk with the Britishers. This was the thing happened at that time. This was the reaction of the Indian leaders, and basically after that, some talks happened between the Royal Indian Navy and the Indian sepoys in them. Let's read more about it. Cabinet Mission Plan 1946, very important. So Cabinet Mission composed of three British cabinet ministers, Sir Patrick Lawrence, the Secretary of State for India, Sir Stafford Cripps, and President of the Board of Trade and A.V. Alexander, First Lord of Admiralty. It arrived in New Delhi on 24th March 1946. It announced following recommendations. So basically, the objective of Cabinet Mission was to create Constituent Assembly. There was to be a Union of India comprising both British India and Indian states with control over foreign affairs, defense, and communications. Residuary powers should be left to the provinces. The provinces could organize themselves to groups. India was to be divided into three groups of provinces. Group A, Madras, Bombay, Central Provinces, United Provinces, Bihar, and Odisha. Group B, NWFP, that is Northwestern Frontier Province, Punjab, Sindh, and Balochistan. Group C, Bengal and Assam. So basically, the first thing that Cabinet Mission did was to create a kind of a regional separation of the areas into three groups, that is Group A, B, and C. And now they will particularly create the elections. They will contest the elections, and they will organize the elections, and after that, the Constituent Assembly will be formed. Let's read further. So, Direct Action Day. The Muslim League withdrew its assent to the Cabinet Mission on 29 July 1946 and pledged to resort to direct action to achieve Pakistan, 16th August 1946, fixed as Direct Action Day by the Muslim League. A communal frenzy took place in Calcutta by the battle cry लेकर रहेंगे पाकिस्तान, लेकर लड़के लेंगे पाकिस्तान. So these were the cries, that war cry that were particularly created by the people in Calcutta and communal frenzy in Calcutta. And Direct Action Day was basically declared by Muhammad Ali Jinnah from his house in Bombay on 16th August. Basically, what happened was that, as we know, that in the elections of Constituent Assembly, the Muslim League got a defeat and they won very less number of seats, because of which Muhammad Ali Jinnah was frustrated, and Muhammad Ali Jinnah declared that we are going to declare Direct Action Day. Now we do not think about anything, and the only thing we want is the Pakistan. And after that, particularly in Calcutta, as we can see, a lot of people were making a war cry, that is लेकर रहेंगे पाकिस्तान, लड़के लेंगे पाकिस्तान. Interim government. So the interim government was formed with Jawaharlal Nehru as its vice president, took office on September 2, 1946. Later, Viceroy persuaded Muslim League to join the government, and 5 Muslim League nominees were added to it on 26th October 1946. The Muslim League members of the interim government, led by Liaquat Ali Khan, finance minister, formed a king's party and embraced the Congress members in different ways. So, particularly, the interim government was on its way to be formed. Jawaharlal Nehru was made as its vice president, and still the viceroy persuaded the Muslim League to join it. But the things are like this, that particularly in the interim government also they want higher post, and all the different higher posts are wanted by Muhammad Ali Jinnah. That was refused by the Congress later. Let's talk about the interim government now. So, Constituent Assembly, the Constituent Assembly, which met on 9th December 1946, was boycotted by the elected members of the Muslim League. Clement Attlee's declaration, 30th June 1948, was the deadline for transfer of power, irrespective of any situation in India. So, Clement Attlee, the Prime Minister of Britain at that time, declared it on 30th June in his declaration in the House of Commons in London. So this was the declaration given, and India was said to be freed by 30th June 1948. Freedom with partition. Mountbatten Plan, very important, 3rd June 1947. So Mountbatten Plan, as a 3rd June 1947 plan, came to be known, sought to effect on early transfer of power on the basis of dominant status to 2 successors in states, India and Pakistan. Mountbatten advanced the date for transfer of power to August 15, 1947. The plan was accepted by both Congress and the Muslim League. This became the basis of India Independence Act, which was ratified by the British Parliament and Crown on 18 July and implemented on 15th August 1947. Pakistan gained independence on 14 August 1947 and India on 15th August 1947. Jinnah became the first Governor General of Pakistan, and Liaquat Ali Khan was the first Prime Minister, whereas Lord Mountbatten was the first Governor General of independent India. Jawaharlal Nehru was the first Prime Minister of India. And after that, C. Rajgopalachari became the first Indian Governor General of independent India. So this all happened after the Mountbatten Plan, also famously known as the June Plan. Also under this plan, the Radcliffe Commission was also formed that demarcated a boundary between India and Pakistan. Let's read further. Boundary Commission, as I was saying. So Boundary Commission 1947, in order to settle the boundaries of the new dominions of India and Pakistan, 2 commissions with a common chairman, Cyril Radcliffe, were set up. So that is why the boundary between India and Pakistan is famously known as the Radcliffe boundary. But you must be thinking that it is also known as LOC. LOC is the boundary between India and POK. POK is that region of Kashmir, of Jammu and Kashmir, which was occupied illegally by Pakistan in 1947-48 during the India-Pakistan War of 1947-48. Because on 26th of October 1947, the instrument of accession was signed between the Raja Hari Singh of Kashmir and Indian government. And after that, the Indian troops entered into Kashmir, and they particularly disposed the Pakistani army and other terrorist groups from the Kashmir part and moved them back to the POK area. And by that time, the ceasefire was particularly declared by the UN with the help of UN. And that is why the POK was created and LOC was created between India and POK. And that's it in this session, guys. I hope you learned a lot of things with me again in this session and gained great knowledge. I will meet you in the next session, in which we will discuss further about the modern history part that will help you in your upcoming exams. Till the time we meet, bye bye. Take care, everyone, and see you soon.